There is a cedar chest at the foot of my bed that crossed the ocean in 1838, carried by my great-great-grandfather Yoder, along with a Bible and a set of carpenter's tools. And inside that chest, tied up with a length of binder twine, sits a stack of 41 letters. My grandfather wrote every one of them to my grandmother between two harvests, and when the Lord finally took her home, the two of them had been married 63 years in the house he helped his own father build, the house I am sitting in right now. My name is Elias Yoder. I am Amish. I have been married to the same woman for 34 years, and out my window I can see the half-acre of flowers she keeps for my honeybees, and she has opinions about that yard that I have learned not to argue with. In my community, in Lancaster County and Holmes County and Shipshewana, a marriage that holds for a lifetime is so ordinary that nobody thinks to remark on it. Out in your world, nearly half of them come apart, and the loneliest generation in history is walking around with a courting machine in its pocket. Today, I am going to give you the one courtship rule we never let go of. And then I am going to tell you the part that should make you angry, because there are companies earning billions of dollars a year for every year that rule stays forgotten, and not one of them will ever say a word about it. By the end of this, you will know exactly how to start using the rule yourself this very week, and it will cost you nothing at all. Stay with me. Now, here is what most folks get wrong about us. They hear that Amish marriages last, and they figure it must be the religion, or else they figure we simply have no way out, so the number does not count for much. And I will be honest with you, there is a grain of truth in that second one, and I will come back to it before we are done, because I do not believe in handing a man half a story. But the real answer sits further upstream than the wedding day. The English, and forgive me, that is just what we call folks outside our community, no disrespect in it. The English spend years searching and a few months deciding. We spend years deciding and almost no time at all searching. That is the whole difference right there. Your dating apps are built for searching. The screen always has one more face, one more profile, one more maybe, and so the search never has a reason to end. A young man in my community goes to a Sunday evening singing, and across the long table sit maybe 15 girls from his district and the next one over. That is the whole field. The English would call that a terrible selection. We call it a blessing, because the moment the choosing gets small, the deciding gets serious. But knowing why the old way works is not the same as knowing how to work it. So let me show you the rule itself, piece by piece, the way it was shown to me. The rule is this: you court one person out in the open with marriage as the question from the very first evening, and you let time do the talking instead of your thumbs. In our communities, it starts at the singing. The young folks gather on a Sunday evening, boys down one side of a long table and girls down the other, and they sing and visit until 10 o'clock or so, and then comes pie and coffee and another hour of talk. If a young man has taken notice of a young woman, he asks whether he may drive her home. That buggy ride is the beginning, and here is the part the English never believe. He might not see her again for 2 weeks. Church in our districts meets every other Sunday, and courting visits happen on the weekends in between, at her family's home, with her parents in the next room and a lamp burning on the table. In between the visits, there are letters, real letters with a stamp on them, where a person has to sit down and decide what he actually means before he writes it. 2 evenings a month and a few sheets of paper. That is the whole courtship, and it runs a year, sometimes 2. Now your world would call that starvation. I call it the opposite. When you see someone twice a month, every visit matters. You cannot hide behind 200 little messages a day that say nothing at all. You sit across from a person for 4 hours with no screen and no show playing, and you find out very quickly whether the silence between you is comfortable or whether it itches. Scarcity is not the enemy of love. Scarcity is the test of it. The men who study attention for a living have a name for what the apps do instead. They call it intermittent variable reward, the same trick that keeps a tired man feeding coins to a slot machine. We just call it the difference between courting a woman and shuffling a deck of cards. So how does a person standing in your shoes use this with no singings and no buggy and no district full of families who have known you since you were small? You take the bones of it, and there are four. First, one person at a time. The day you decide to court someone, you stop searching. Take the apps off the phone for the season, all of them. You cannot decide about one door while you are still rattling the handles of 40 others. Second, set a cadence and hold it. One evening a week, face to face, and one letter or one long unhurried call in between. And outside of that, you let the silence sit. I know that sounds frightening to you. Do it anyway. The first month of that will teach you more than a year of texting good morning at each other ever could. Third, say the destination out loud. By the third or fourth visit, in plain words, I am spending this time with you to find out whether we should marry. The English call that moving too fast. It is the opposite of fast. It is slow on purpose, the way a man walks a fence line slow because he is actually looking at the fence. What it kills is not the romance. What it kills is the drift. Those years a person can lose beside somebody who was never going to decide. And fourth, bring them in front of your people early. Your mother, your oldest friends, the folks who will tell you the truth to your face. Among us, a courtship happens with the parents in the next room, and that is not a punishment. It is a pair of borrowed eyes. The people who love you can see in one supper what infatuation will hide from you for a year. Then you give the whole thing 4 full seasons, because a person shows you who they are in February, when the days are short and the tempers are shorter, not in June. Now, before I hand you the half of this that nobody talks about, the half that comes after the deciding, I want to ask you for one small thing. Down below this video, there is a comment section, and I go through the comments every few evenings, and I read what folks are trying in their own lives. There are thousands of households out there doing this same work alongside you. So tell me where you stand tonight. Still searching, courting somebody now, or married 40 years and nodding along? I read every one of these, and I answer what I can, because here is the part nobody tells you. The rule does not retire on the wedding day. My grandfather, the man who wrote those 41 letters, kept one habit for 63 years that cost him nothing but attention. Every Saturday evening, after the chores were done and before the light went, he and my grandmother sat together on the porch of this house, just the two of them, and he asked her the same 2 questions. What was the best of your week, and what was the worst of it? That was all. 1 hour, no interruptions, every single week for 63 years. The marriage counselors, I am told, charge $150 an hour to teach couples something they call a weekly check-in ritual. We just call it sitting with your wife. My own wife and I walk the lane on Saturday evenings, down past her flower beds and out along my 11 hives, and that slow walk has settled more quarrels than any argument ever has. The courtship cadence becomes the marriage cadence. Scarce, steady, undivided attention. That is the whole game right there. And there's a second piece that holds the first one up. Among us, when a couple decides to marry, they keep it quiet, sometimes for months, and then one Sunday in October, the deacon stands up at the end of the service and reads their names out to the whole congregation. We call it being published. From that morning on, the promise does not belong only to the 2 of them. It belongs to every soul who heard it, and those witnesses will be there to hold the thing up when it sags, with a meal carried over, with a barn repaired, with a quiet word in a stubborn husband's ear. So make your promises in front of witnesses and go build yourself some. 2 or 3 couples further down the road than you, who will tell you the truth and come looking when you go quiet. A marriage with no witnesses is a barn with no neighbors. It can stand, but when the storm comes, nobody is running to help you hold the door. Now I owe you the honest part, because I said I would come back to it. It is true that divorce is not permitted among us, and so when you hear that our marriages last, understand that lasting and flourishing are not always the same thing. There are hard marriages in my community, same as in yours, and I would be lying to tell you otherwise. That is exactly why the courtship matters so much to us. When there is no back door, a man learns to be very careful which front door he walks through, and I will tell you something else straight. This rule will not make a wrong person right. If you court somebody unkind for 4 slow seasons in front of all your people, you will simply learn they are unkind sooner. And hear me, that is the gift. The rule does not promise you 63 years. Nothing on this earth can promise you that. What it promises is that you will decide with your eyes open instead of your thumbs busy. But here is the part that should make you angry. Think about what a courting app actually sells. You pay $30 or $40 a month to find someone, and the moment the thing works, you stop paying. Their best customer is the man who never quite finds her, who stays a little hopeful and a little lonely for 10 years. And 10 years at $30 a month is $3,600 spent on searching before he has bought one supper. Now, I do not believe a room full of men sat down at a table and said, "Let us build a machine to destroy courtship." I would never tell you such a thing. The truth is simpler and sadder. Those companies earn billions of dollars a year from the searching and not $1 from the finding. And a business will always feed the thing that feeds it. So the endless shuffle is not a flaw in the machine. The shuffle is the machine. And there is no money in the old rule. Nobody can sell you one evening a week, a handwritten letter, and a supper at your mother's table. There is no monthly contract in it. No man in an office 4 states away getting a little richer every time your thumb moves, which is exactly why nobody ever told you. None of this is a secret. It has been working for 200 years and longer. You were just never shown. So let me put the whole thing in your hands in one breath. One person at a time, on a steady cadence, with the destination said out loud, in front of people who love you, for 4 full seasons, then a promise made before witnesses, and a porch hour every Saturday for the rest of your days. So this weekend, here is what I want you to do. If you are searching, take the apps off your phone for 90 days and write down on paper, the way my grandfather would have, what you are actually looking for. If you are courting, set your one evening and say the destination out loud. And if you are married, sit your husband or your wife down on the porch Saturday evening and ask the 2 questions. Best of the week, worst of the week, total cost, $0. And some Saturday evening next autumn, you will be sitting in the cool of the day beside a person who has decided about you and you about them, and you will wonder how anybody ever called the other way freedom. The folks in my community already know this works. I am telling it for the folks outside who were never told. Next time, I want to tell you about my grandmother and the one sentence she said to my grandfather every night for 63 years, just 6 words, that I believe did more for that marriage than all 41 letters put together. The people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.